This is a production of WGBH2 Boston.
Tonight on Greater Boston, I'll sit down with a woman who says she was fired because of her legal medical marijuana use. Now she's suing in what could be a precedent-setting case. Then, Forbes magazine calls him the greatest radical at work in America today. Ahead, Lawrence Lessig of Harvard University will join me to talk about why he thinks our government is spiraling out of control and how we can fix it. Plus, the art of the samurai with a modern twist, and a few people who've made some massive blunders to the point where I wonder how they still go out in public. My first guests tonight are fighting what could end up being a landmark case in Massachusetts, the right to use marijuana for medicinal purposes and not be fired for it. Massachusetts is one of 23 states, along with District of Columbia, which has legalized marijuana for health reasons. But Christina Barbuto says she was fired after her first day on a new job because of it. Christina joins me now, along with one of her lawyers, Matthew Fogelman. And by the way, we did reach out to the company in question. It's called Advantage Sales and Marketing. They did not respond to our calls or emails. Thank you both for being here. Christina, you apply for the job. You tell them that you have a doctor's approval to use marijuana for medicinal purposes, right?
Yes.
What do they say to you?
They said as long as you have the certification or prescription or license or whatever that they, whatever terms that they use, as long as I had it, that it would be okay.
Did you have it?
Yes.
Okay, you go to work the next day, right?
I went through a training first, and then I had a shift. First I went to training, I got my uniforms, I got a brand new iPad for the for the whole gig.
Then you show up, and what happens?
I show up to work, I did my job, I liked it, I came home and started talking all about it, and I got the phone call.
Saying what?
You're fired. You had marijuana in your system.
And when in that first interview, if they had said to you, well, now that you've told us that you're using marijuana for medicinal purposes, you can't have the job. If you had to choose your health or the work, what would you have done?
My health, of course.
Your health.
Yes.
Okay, so Matt, I think I read in the paper that you said that the law that the voters passed in 2012, medical marijuana, even though no dispensaries have opened 2.5 years later, that the law prohibits the kind of action by an employer that led to her firing. Did I read you right?
I certainly believe it does, Jim. It hasn't been tested before because it's a new law. But generally speaking, employees who have medical conditions are protected from discrimination. And Christina has a very serious disease called Crohn's. It's a serious gastrointestinal disorder, and she needs medication to help her deal with that.
My understanding is the employer, again, whom we invited here but chose not to show or just didn't respond, says, I don't care about the state law. We're listening to the federal law, and I think most people watching this show know that even though all these states are passing this, not to mention recreational use in places like Colorado, Washington, etc., federal law still bans this, right?
Federal law bans the... That's a difficult question. When you say bans this, are you talking about the use of
any marijuana use, right?
So that is at the heart of this issue, but I feel
that's either yes or no for starters. They do ban it, don't they?
Federal law bans marijuana in certain forms, yes. There are certain forms that are being made on the market that are not banned, but in general, yes. However, the key point is, Jim, is that you cannot choose to follow federal law in certain aspects and disregard state law. We live in Massachusetts.
Why? Why doesn't federal law always overrule what state law is, assuming that is what they relied on?
You're getting into a doctrine, what's called preemption, which is a constitutional law doctrine, where if the company was a federal company, if they had contracts with federal, if they were federally involved with employment, with contracts, that would be a different story. But they don't have to violate, by adhering to state law, you're not violating federal law. So it's not preempted in the sense that no one is asking the company to violate federal law.
But the company says that it would have to violate federal law if it allowed Christina to continue in its employ.
I don't really know what they're saying because I haven't spoken to them.
And now you're in front of the Mass Commission Against Discrimination. Is that where you are?
That's correct.
How come this hasn't been a problem for you in the past, Christina?
I never applied for a job where they had given me a drug test.
At all? No drug test at all?
No.
That's interesting. I know this is not part of this case, but it's a marketing thing, right?
Right.
So why is a drug test even relevant? I assume it's not part of your challenge. Who cares as long as she can perform her job? It's not a safety-sensitive kind of thing. What's the big deal?
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
You can interrupt me all you want.
I agree with you 1,000%. And while that's not the focus of the case, I want to get into that in the case, actually, because she's not working with kids. She's working for a marketing company. So this whole issue of drug testing, it's an invasion of privacy. It raises some very interesting issues.
If you say we believe, I think your words were we believe the state law that was passed by the voters in 2012 protects people like Christina, and obviously there's some dispute about that. Why isn't the legislature fixing it? If at minimum you think that was the intent of the ballot question that was passed close to 2-1, is the legislature care about this, or they haven't not attending to it at all?
Well, I hope they will attend to it. I mean, this is not unusual. A law gets passed. It's sometimes not the most clear.
It's 2.5 years ago, though.
True, but there's a court case that comes and challenges the law, and then the court may decide. The legislature is free to come in and do some amendments. Can I answer one quick thing you asked me before about the federal and state?
Yeah.
Let's look at the Wage Act, okay? Minimum wage. Massachusetts minimum wage law is higher than federal minimum wage law. An employer cannot come into Massachusetts and say, well, we're going to follow federal law. So there are some analogies.
But are you saying that state laws would stand over federal laws that preempt certain activity across the country? You're not, are you?
It's not that they would take precedence over, but the issue is whether it's preempted, and I don't believe that this is preempted.
What do you both, starting with you, if someone, you've obviously achieved some profile off this challenge of yours, somebody calls you on the phone tomorrow and says, I'm in the exact same situation you are. What do I do? What do you say? We'll ask him as a lawyer in a minute. You as a real person, what do you say?
I say call my lawyers.
What do you say to that person tomorrow? That person's the next Christina Barbuto. What do you say to him or her when they're about to go, they're using medical marijuana as prescribed by their doctor, but they're going to a job that they really want? Do I tell the truth? What do I do? Do I agree to take the test? Do I not agree? What do you tell them?
Well, I think you have to, I mean, if taking the test is a requirement to the job, I think you have to take the test. And I think what you do, and what people should try to do, is to explain, look, I have a condition, I take marijuana, I don't take it in the morning, I don't take it at work. It's akin to taking it at night. It's like having a glass of wine.
Matt, last question. If the employer had said to Christina when he met her, or she met her, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, sorry, medical marijuana not allowed here, not given approval, you'd have a much tougher case, yes?
I don't think so. I don't think so. If she was qualified for the job and she could perform the essential functions of the job and her use of marijuana does not impact that, I don't think you can be discriminated against on that basis. There are plenty of people that have medical conditions. There are plenty of people that take a lot of medicines. If it doesn't affect your ability to do your job, that's your business.
Christina Barbuto, good luck. Thanks so much for your time.
Much.
Matt Fogelman, thank you so much as well.
Thank you,
Keep
sir.
us